What's going on, everybody? Chris Kennedy here with drroto.com, and I am back with another Thursday night player prop slate for you guys. This week, we have the Chargers against the Chiefs, an AFC West matchup, which should have tons of points scored. Right now, the game total for that one is 54, so there should be plenty to go around for all. Now, last video that I had, we had really good success. We hit 4 out of the 4 props. We have quite a few more today, and I'm doing this because we have some full game props, but over on Prize Picks, they do have a first half option as well. So I'm going to give you guys a bunch of first half props that I really like, along with a couple of full game props, and you can mix and match, you can parlay these however you like. But let's get right into it without wasting any time. Here are the first 2 full game props that I really like for tonight's game. First one is going to be L'Jarius Sneed, 6.5 tackles. I'm going with more on this one. I know that the Chargers did run the ball quite a bit last week against the Raiders, but I do think that this matchup here, we're going to see a little bit more passing. Sneed should get more opportunities for tackles, and he has hit this number in his last 4 games, including going back to last season. So L'Jarius Sneed over 6.5 tackles. The other prop that I really like is going to be Joey Bosa, 2.5 tackles plus assists. I'm going more on this one. I like this number because he hit it in 11 of 16 games last season, including both matchups against the Kansas City Chiefs. So with Joey Bosa, I'm taking the over on 2.5 tackles and assists. The next handful of props here are going to be just for the first half alone, so please keep that in mind when you are selecting the props. First one that we're going with here is going to be Justin Herbert. 6.5 rushing yards in the first half. I'm going less here. He's only hit this once over his last 5 games going back to last season. And I know that Herbert has been running the ball a little bit less. So any sort of rushing yards most likely will end up being in the second half. So I'm going less 6.5 rushing yards first half. Next one that I really like here is going to be Austin Ekeler. 26.5 rushing yards. I'm going more with this one. He's hit this in 4 of his last 5 games. He really has been getting off to a quick start in the first half in most options here. So for me, where the Chargers have been running the ball a little bit more, even though Ekeler only did get about 13 or 14 carries last week, I do think that he hits this number in the first half of over 26.5 rushing yards. Next one here, we're going to be going over to the Chiefs side of the ball. Juju Smith-Schuster had himself a game last week. He had 79 receiving yards just in the first half, 38 of those in the first quarter alone. So his first half prop for receiving yards is 29.5. I really like the over on this one. Throughout the entire game last week, the Chargers allowed 141 yards to Davante Adams. Now, Smith-Schuster is not Davante Adams by any stretch, but it does show that the Chargers are susceptible against opposing wide receiver ones. So I do like Smith-Schuster's prop here of 29.5 receiving yards. Next one here, Mecole Hardman, 17.5 receiving yards. Now, this is a guy who can get that on one catch alone. He was targeted 6 times last week, but I'm still not in love with this prop. It's 17.5 receiving yards in the first half, and I don't think that he hits it. He's only hit it once over his last 5 games. And yes, no Tyreek Hill, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm going to take the less in this one of 17.5 receiving yards. You may want to play a little bit lighter on that one, but for me, I am going to take the under. Final prop of the evening, Mr. Patrick Mahomes. 12 fantasy points in the first half. Smashing the over on this one. I'm going more. He had 21 fantasy points in the first half last week. He's had at least 14 over his last 5 games in the first half alone. So I'm going to say that he goes over 12 fantasy points in the first half of tonight's game. That's all I've got for you guys for the Thursday night slate. Stay tuned for Monday night's video as well. But if you want more props, especially for Sunday's slate, you have to go over to drroto.com and subscribe, because that's where I offer all of my player props for the entire week, not just primetime games, but for all of Sunday's matchups. That's all I've got for you guys this week. I will talk with you guys soon in a few days. So for drroto.com, I am Chris Kennedy.